Two of Edwin Hubble's greatest accomplishments were the discovery of other galaxies beyond the Milky Way and the discovery that the universe is expanding. Now, before we get into the astronomical part of things, let's start off with Hubble's early life. Edwin Hubble was born in November of 1889 in Missouri. He was the third of 7 children. His father, John, was a lawyer for a fire insurance firm, and his mother, Virginia Lee, was a descendant of the American colonist Miles Standish. He attended Wheaton High School in Illinois and excelled in both sports and academics. He participated in basketball, track, boxing, and football. He graduated from high school at the age of 16, which was 2 years earlier than most students. During summer vacations, he tutored and worked as a laboratory assistant to the physicist Robert Millikan, which earned him a small scholarship to the University of Chicago. There he studied math, physics, chemistry, and of course, astronomy. He received a Bachelor of Science in Math and Astronomy in 1910. He then traveled to Oxford University as a Rhodes Scholar. He graduated from Queen's College in 1912 with a Bachelor of Arts in Jurisprudence. In case you're wondering, jurisprudence is the philosophy of law. He also starred as a high jumper and heavyweight boxing champion. Hubble followed in his father's footsteps and began practicing law in Kentucky in 1913. When his father died in late 1913, he no longer wanted to become a lawyer. He returned to the University of Chicago to do graduate work in astronomy in 1914. During this time, he taught high school Spanish and physics. He received his PhD in early 1917 and enlisted in the United States Army soon after. It's been said that he used to teach the soldiers night marching by using the stars. He was discharged from the war in 1919. He took the position of staff astronomer at Mount Wilson Observatory in Pasadena, California. The director held this position for him since 1917, and he kept it until his death. In 1924, he married Grace Burke, the daughter of a banker and alumna of Stanford University. They did not have any children together. Now on to the fun part. Hubble's earliest observations were made with Mount Wilson's 60-inch telescope. He started off viewing objects inside of our own galaxy, but gradually began to view more distant objects. He used their 100-inch telescope to obtain photographs of his findings. In 1920, he published a doctoral thesis suggesting that all nebulae were far outside of our solar system. Back in Hubble's time, nebula was a term for any astronomical object outside of the Milky Way. Nowadays, a nebula is an interstellar cloud of dust. His discovery of other galaxies beyond the Milky Way was made in 1923. He announced the discovery of 9 other galaxies in 1924. Scientists knew that the maximum diameter of the Milky Way was 100,000 light-years. When Hubble measured the distance to these 9 galaxies, it placed them far outside of the Milky Way. In 1925, he introduced a system for classifying these galaxies, which became the basis for the modern classification system. He was elected into the National Academy of Sciences in 1927, after fewer than 8 years of professional work. Hubble's next project was to relate properties of galaxies to redshifts. Redshifts were Doppler shifts interpreted as indicating motion away from the observer. If galaxies were moving fast enough away from Earth, that motion would stretch the light emitting from them. This stretching was called redshift because longer wavelengths make light take on a reddish hue. Many scientists already sought correlation, but were unsuccessful. By 1929, he combined the distances of 24 galaxies with corresponding redshifts. He discovered a linear relation between these distances and their apparent speed of recession. This relation is called Hubble's law. These results confirm that the universe is indeed expanding. The reciprocal of the ratio of speed to distance determines the time when the expansion started. The expansion now appears to have started around 12 billion years ago. This ratio is known as Hubble's constant. Albert Einstein, yes, the Albert Einstein, visited Mount Wilson Observatory in 1931. He later made the shocking announcement that he was abandoning his static universe theory as a direct result of Hubble's work. By 1934, he had gathered information on about 80,000 galaxies. Hubble was recognized for his work in the form of invitations to lectures, gold medals, honorary degrees, and of course, the attention of Albert Einstein, a world-famous scientist and physicist. He was awarded the Medal for Merit for his work in 1946. He was also elected an honorary fellow of Queen's College, Oxford University. There are also many astronomical terms that are named after him, such as the Hubble telescope, launched by NASA in 1990, an asteroid, a crater on the moon, and a faint comet he discovered. Edwin Hubble may have been one of the greatest astronomers since Galileo. He proved many scientists of his time wrong, although he was very humble about it. He even changed the mind of Albert Einstein. His assistant started off as a janitor at Mount Wilson, and Hubble turned him into a great astronomer. Because of Edwin Hubble, we know that the universe is expanding. It started expanding over 12 billion years ago, and that the Milky Way is not the only galaxy. Thanks to him, we have been able to make many more astronomical advances.